back to Nick's Home Renovation. In this video I'm going to let you know how much a bathroom costs in 2025. What we're standing in now is my fully renovated bathroom. This actually used to be the back bedroom, so we've done everything from scratch. We had no waste, we have no pipes anywhere near this location, so it should be a really good indicator for you guys. I've got my trade prices, what I paid all the tradesmen, so we've got tiler, plasterer, stud work, plumbing obviously, and electrical work, as well as all my fitting costs, and I'll actually list you all the products as well in case you're interested in anything I have used, which I fully recommend so far. We're really pleased with everything. As well as I'll show you a few clips as we go of how this whole process started from changing from the back bedroom to this fully finished bathroom. So let's get going, and I'll start by giving you a little tour. So this is a 4-piece bathroom. So we have our shower here. For those of you wondering why we have 2 doors and haven't been following my renovation from the beginning, we've got a Jack and Jill bathroom. So that goes to our daughter Lydia's bedroom, and that comes from the landing there. And it's actually a really nice idea. So when we do bath time, etc. of an evening, Lydia goes straight through to bed. And it also, we've just got a lock on each if we have guests staying over. So it's quite unusual, but I'm really glad we did that in the end. So it's a 4-piece bathroom. We have a shower here. The shower's got everything you need. It's got a big head at the top, separate hose, and then the valves over there. Towel rail, so must not forget that. That's plumbed in through water, so it's not an electric towel rail. It's on the water system. We've actually got it on a separate system from our central heating so that we can turn it on when we want. I've got a bath, so we've got a back to wall, sort of D-shaped bath. We wanted the whole back to wall thing because people have told me in the past having freestanding baths are a bit of a nightmare with water getting behind it. So we've got our bath with our valve and our tap here, and then we've got a separate hose down the end there, which is very useful. We've got a couple of niches in here. I'll talk through the stud work when we start getting into the details and nitty-gritty of everything. And then over here we've got a back-to-wall toilet and a wall-hung vanity unit. So let's start with the trades. So this was sort of a different one, but actually the bathrooms I renovate for clients, this happens a lot, where you have to take down some sort of wall, maybe not structural, but some brickwork, and put in some stud work. So it's probably a good example of what to show you. We do have a lot of stud work in this house, because we basically gutted all the internal walls. So the stud work cost might be a little bit high here, but it basically cost us about £600 for all of our stud work. So that was a day's labour for a carpenter, and the stud wall is, so this is solid. The stud wall was basically here, 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 and all the way across here. And this is solid, that's the external wall. And that was the old external wall, but we've got an extension that side. So it's probably, you know, 1.5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, probably nearly 8 metres worth of stud work. The cost of timber is obviously quite a lot, and it is quite labour intensive. And we did things like niches in here that we've asked the carpenter to do as well for Lydia's shampoo and things. And then for our shower over here, we've got another niche. So that also takes a bit more time. And we've got 2 doorways, again, which always take a little bit more time. So the carpentry was about £600. On the average bathroom I do, I think that would be a little bit less. Typically, I'd say a lot of people knock down where a boiler is in a cupboard, for example, turn that into a shower, and end up knocking out their sort of 1 external bathroom wall, rather than we've got 2 here. So £600 might be a little bit steep, but the average carpenter probably is charging around £300 per day these days anyway. So I think actually it's probably not going to be much less, even if you've only got just 1 stud wall. The big cost obviously in a bathroom like this is plumbing. This would have been about £3,000 for plumbing, because we've got, not only have we got a 4-piece suite, we've got the towel rail, but all of the outside pipe work as well was brand new. So we've got new wastes going through stud work down in the downstairs toilet. Everything is new, and if you imagine looking around, there's a lot of fittings for plumber. So obviously in here you've got a cold feed for this toilet, and the waste going away from that, and all the waste work associated with that. In here you've got a hot and cold for the tap, as well as fitting the waste underneath the vanity. In the shower, obviously you've got a lot. You've got the valves, hot and cold. You've got this separate tap to plumb in, and then you've got the shower head. Towel rail on the radiator system as well, and then obviously the bath, you've got hot and cold and a separate hose again. So that is a lot of pipe work and a lot of plumbing. So that's why the cost is high at 3,000. That actually doesn't include any of the fittings. That is just labour only predominantly, and a little bit of the external downpipe and everything. So that's why that's a really big cost. Next cost is the electrician work. So I'm an electrician myself, and electrical work in a bathroom is way easier than plumbing. There's a lot less to do. Obviously, very few people have anything electrical at all in any of your shower zones or bath zones or anything like that. The only electrics in here is we've got 5 spotlights, which are probably going to flicker on you, sorry about that. And then we've got a fan that has to be taken external for obvious reasons, for the steam of the shower and the bath. And we've got a couple of niche lights as well. So in here, the electrics would have been really limited, and I imagine an electrician will charge you around 1,000 to 1,500 per day, because it's a really easy job, to be honest, especially with most bathrooms having a loft above. A lot of the work is in the loft and very simple. I did throw a cable down behind this mirror as well, just in case we ever had anything LED mirror or we wanted wall lights either side, but we went for a nice big mirror in the end, so didn't do that. So I'd say you'd probably, again, I think electricians these days are like 250 to 300 pounds. So you have to allow them to do at least a couple of days work and second fixing and everything. So I'd say a minimum of 1,000 and top end of 1,500, including VAT and everything, hopefully. And that includes the fittings as well. I've gone for nice fittings, LED fittings, but I say in a bathroom for an electrician, it's not too bad. Tiling costs. So we've got a lot of tiles. So obviously the whole shower zone is tiled, and then we went halfway, or slightly above halfway actually, the whole way around. So we took it behind there, behind the bath, and all the way around there halfway. So it's a lot of tiling, and again that cost from the tiler was about £1,500. It was 2 guys for 2 days. My guys are actually very quick, but you're probably more likely to have one guy do it for a whole week. And obviously I forgot to mention as well the flooring. So lots and lots of tiles, probably a week's worth of just labour only for a tiler. So around 1,000 to 1,500, depending on where you live again, I think is a fair price. So that's the bulk of the trade prices. Obviously we have painting as well. In a bathrooms like this, there's not a lot of things to paint really, because the tiles take much of the space. So all you've got is a little bit of, like a metre and a bit above the tiles in here. And then probably the trickiest job is just doing the ceiling. So you shouldn't ever pay too much for a painter, but as you guys know, it's 2025 and everything is expensive, so I'd maybe allow £500–600 for painting as well, including materials. But definitely something you could probably do yourself, painting. Just get some masking tape and try your best. It shouldn't be too bad in a bathroom, because if you make it a mess, it's only on tiles usually. So that's the bulk of the trade prices. We'll now start to go through all of the fitting costs, and then I'll tally up at the end for you what you're looking to spend and how long these things take. And I'll also put some time-lapse footage of some of the work we did in our bathroom to show you how it all went together, from building the stud work to fitting out to completion. So starting in the shower, what we went for, we actually went for the same thing everywhere because I wanted consistency in the brass. So what I've found with clients in the past is if they choose different branded things, often the brushed brass can be slightly different. So if they ordered something in the shower there, that one will look slightly different. So what I did, I went for all the same, and it's all Arezzo from Victorian Plumbing. It was £450 for the valves, the hose, this bar here to hold the hose, and then the shower head itself. The shower tray was £189 from Victoria Plumbing, and it's called the Aurora Stone Rectangular Shower Tray. I think from memory that is about 1.2 by about 90 centimetres, so it feels like a nice big opening to us. We think it's a really good size, and actually we quite like what we've done with the glass here as well to open it up to not have a door. It works really well for us. We've got the shower tray waste, one of those things you forget, that was actually £45. It's things like that that are more expensive than you want them to be, but again, have to match the brushed brass and do it properly. Coming around here, we've got a towel rail. I mean, towel rails can really fluctuate. Again, being brushed brass, it was slightly more expensive than usual. £270 Arezzo from Victoria Plumbing. Coming round for the bath, so I really like this bath. My plumber told me to look for as thick as possible in here. So he said the cheaper ones are really thin and really rubbish, make lots of noises when they fill up. So you're best looking for a nice thick one. So that's I think 12mm thick, or possibly 10mm thick actually, sorry. So this was £800 from Wix and was actually part of a sale, I think. So I think it was more like £1,000 now, and I think I've subsequently looked and it's sort of over £1,000 for that now. But it's called the Wix Boston Back to Wall Freestanding Contemporary Bath, and that gap in there is about 70, well the bath is 1700 by 800, so we've got a gap of maybe sort of 10 centimetres each side, so maybe about 190 centimetres of space. It is a lovely big bath with lots of. So the bath spout and the valve and the hose, again, all Victorian plumbing, all Arezzo to keep that brushed brass mix. And it's the Arezzo brushed brass round concealed manual valve with bath spout and shower handset. That was £315. Again, really just simple design, but we're still very pleased with how they look. And I think it's quite a minimal look as well, which is nice. The toilet is the Burlington Riviera. That's what I was talking about, going a little bit higher spec on everything we've done, because we wanted a back-to-wall toilet that went all the way back. We don't like seeing that downpipe, especially as we did this bathroom from new. We wanted everything to be as good as it can be. That was £402. So you can definitely get cheaper toilets, but we wanted a nice back-to-wall one without seeing that waste. Going over to the vanity. So this is the Isla 800 wall-hung vanity and basin. It was £454 from Drench. So it actually did come with a different basin in it, and we actually got rid of it. So I am fortunate enough to know a very good worktop company called MT Stones, and they made this up for me, and then we ended up buying this bowl on top. So what it did come with a vanity down there, but we wanted these taps to be all hung like this, and we wanted a bowl on top, so I asked MT Stones to whip up this lovely bit of worktop for me from all their offcuts they have, and they did that for me. I'm really pleased with that. Went for the Arezzo round sink. There are loads of different round sinks, but we just went for the Arezzo to match everything. And then lastly are these taps, and they were £171. And again from Victoria Plumbing, and again Arezzo. So everything matches really nicely. Things I haven't mentioned yet is this shower screen. For those of you that have ever installed a shower screen, it was the worst job by a mile. Something I did myself to sort of speed up the process. And even though this one is fairly simple, with having just a screw here and screw here, you just have to cut everything down and do so much more work. So whoever designs these shower screens, I'm not their biggest fan, to say the least, but this was called the Milano Monet Antique Brass Corner Walk-in Shower Enclosure. And it was 1200 by 900, and it's £565 from the big bathroom shop. So we didn't want the door swinging out, especially as we have two doors here and here to sort of get in the way. We didn't want anything clashing and banging. It leaves a fairly tight opening that you sort of have to squeeze through, but a lot of water doesn't get out, and I think it looks really nice and neat. Fairly minimal as well, with the brackets and everything holding it nice and tightly in place. On to tiles. So let's start with the floor tiles. So these are called Palermo Ivory Porcelain tiles. They're 600 by 600 or 60 by 60 centimetres, and they are from a company called the Stone Tile Company. They're only about £200 because, despite being porcelain, which usually are expensive, we've got the floor area of a bathroom is never that great. There's probably not more than sort of 20 tiles on the floor here, which really helps. The next tiles we went for quite a sort of medium to high-end one. So this is from a company called Claybrook. We found a sort of showroom around sort of Chelsea way and really loved their look. And these are called the Fellini Crema Gloss and Bianco Gloss. So despite being neutral, they're actually very different in colour, both from two neutral colours that sort of, when you get them out of the box, they don't look too different, but when you put them on the wall, they really give a nice contrast. And as you see, we continued that behind the bath as well, just doing the stripes in and out. And then we kept this bit just plain, but we absolutely love these tiles. They're fantastic. They look really good. As I said to you before, they've got like an imperfect look to where they're not just completely flat, and give it some character. And I think particularly the shower is the best one out of all of them there. One other thing quickly is the doors. So again, we'll be a little bit more carpentry, so we put that carpentry cost up because again, we didn't have any of these doors. It was all stud work. So it all had to be formed. So you're probably looking at another £500 or £600. The doors themselves were under £100. They're called Holdenby doors from Howden's. They're about £80 to £90. Howden's is a trade account, so you might have to speak to a tradesman. And then you're buying the handles and the locks. So we've got two locks because of the Jack and Jill over here and over here. And then obviously you've got architraves around here. We've got an OG architrave as well around each of them. So again, probably another day for a carpenter to fit those doors, fit the architraves, fit the handles. I mean, they could do it much quicker than that, but I'm saying as a maximum, allow another £500 to £600 for two doors, or maybe sort of 300 or 400 if you're only doing one. So, how much did this all cost? For us, it was around the region of £12,000, everything, all trades, all materials, everything all included. You have to take into consideration a few things. A, if you're going to say a high street bathroom shop, you're obviously going to pay a commission on that because they're paying the trades and they're buying everything, and they will receive discounts on things like that, such as I do, but they're going to be taking a commission on top. So your 12,000, say DIYing it, organising it all yourself, might be like 16,000 maybe, if they're taking sort of 30% on top, so you have to keep that in mind with everything. 12,000 is probably slightly higher than some because we had so many new things to bring in. We had no pipe work, we had no waste. So if it's just a simple, I've got a bathroom, I'm not changing much in and out, it should be a little bit less, probably in more around the region of £10,000. But as you can probably see in the building industry, everything is expensive these days. So you do very well, if I'm honest, to do it for sort of £10,000. I've got contacts I've had for years, which really pays off with not overpaying these days, hopefully. But any questions you do have about your bathroom, the bathrooms I think are very, very tricky. I find kitchens way easier. There's so many people involved in the bathroom, so many materials involved, and there's even things like underfloor heating, which I put in here. So if you were looking at underfloor heating, I've got a separate video you can go and have a look at how to DIY electric underfloor heating. So things like that can add a complication and a cost of sort of £500–600 as well. And there's just so many parts to it and people that need to be involved. There's quite a lot to organise. But anyone needs any help, ping me a message and I'll be glad to give any advice if I can help. And if I have forgotten anything, please let me know. The only thing I can't think of off the top of my head is the paint colour, because we've changed our minds so many times. But I'll make sure I've got that in the description or at some point during the video on the text as well. So if you're doing your own bathroom renovation, good luck, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.